If you saw if you saw two 13-year-olds and one 13-year-old steal a purse from somebody, what would you do? As you're about to see from store camera, a 13-year-old punches a woman in the face after stealing her purse. And well, we want to warn you, this content may be disturbing to some viewers. Let's take a look.
It's a disturbing scene involving young teenagers. Watch as a 13-year-old boy grabs a woman's purse from inside a pharmacy in Seattle. The woman chases after him to get it back. All of her things from her purse were scattered on the sidewalk. Some teens pick up various items and walk away. And then the teen punches her. Police soon found the teen walking along a road.
Over here. Over here. You too. Over here. Yeah, you're being detained.
The 13-year-old is handcuffed and taken into custody.
You're under arrest for robbery.
Robbery?
Two others with him were released. This is Inside Edition Digital.
Stealing is wrong. It is wrong to steal from somebody. Borrowing without asking is stealing, especially if you don't say please and thank you. You don't do those things. If you don't say please and thank you, if you borrow without asking, then you're stealing. And if you steal, you don't borrow. That's basically the rule here. If you're going to borrow something, you ask first. You do not take it and then say to yourself, "Oh, I'm going to take it and see what happens." If you're going to borrow something, ask. Can I borrow a cup of sugar? Okay. Can I borrow this and that and the third? I don't know who in their right mind.
What she wanted on it. And as Amber Cagliano.
All right. Here's something funny. About a birthday cake. Oops, that happened. Take a look at this sign. Aries baby, small, cursive middle of cake. Could that be funny to you? Take a look.
She ordered a birthday cake and gave instructions of what she wanted on it. And as Amber Cagliano reports, those instructions were followed to a T.
This woman ordered a birthday cake from her local Walmart.
The cake was for my 22nd birthday. I'm not really a cake person actually, so I kind of just wanted it to take some pictures with.
The order should have been a piece of, cake. Peyton Shamak had asked for a simple white cake like this with custom ordered icing.
I wanted it to say Aries baby, and then in parentheses I put small cursive middle of cake.
2 days later, Peyton and a friend picked up the pastry and got quite a shock when they opened the box.
Right away we looked at it and we're like, why is there so many words? And then we saw what it said and we just bursted out laughing.
So what did the cake say? Well, in addition to Aries baby, which Peyton had asked for, the Walmart bakery team included the directions Aries baby, small, cursive, middle of cake, in big black bold icing. Peyton's photos of the quirky confection is going viral, with Sweet Tooths on social media sounding off. Took literal to another level. Goes this crack. You can definitely say that again.
This is hysterical.
Yeah, happy birthday to you. Next time you're going to order a cake, just don't add other instructions. Just put it on a piece of paper. And if they mess it up, you can go back and get your refund for a new cake. Even though it may be your birthday or days away, you can still get your refund. You might get your refund, you might not get your refund. It probably won't matter either way. It's just all how you look at it. From different angles and different perspectives. How about this one? There are inmates composing music like Beethoven. Actually, let's make some common sense for just a second here. Going to that last story all about stealing, like basically here. If I want to steal a purse, I would not punch a woman. Stealing is wrong. If I saw something drop from the purse, I'd give it back. I would not ever take it. I would not take it for myself. I would give it back to the person that it would belong to. No, I take it back. No if, and, or but about it. I wouldn't steal or punch a lady. That's crossing the line. You don't ever put your hands on a woman in anger. You just don't. It's cowardly. A coward person would think that. And as for the cake, I think it's hilarious. You want something like that for social media? That's your choice to make. It'd be funny and it'd be on our next photo viral break. Wow. We might do 2 viral breaks in a row even after that little stunt. Still to come, Judge Judy. Judge Judith Sheldon before the Judge Judy you know today. And up next, you're going to meet Dr. Charles Crenshaw. Actually, up next, we're going to tell you about something that happened in the Canadian Catholic Church. John Quinones is going to explain. Stay with us. In Canada is known as the era of great darkness, and years later, we're now learning what that was. The Catholic Church in Quebec, Canada, ran like schools, and it was all back in the 1940s. So tonight, we're going to show you what that meant for mothers and the babies. How did that happen? And what about the abuse? Here, a warning. What you're about to see could be very disturbing. It's quite graphic and disturbing. Here's John Quinones.
It seemed like a match made in heaven. Thousands of orphan children hungry for love and affection, warmly embraced by Catholic nuns, the so-called angels of God. The setting, Catholic orphanages in Quebec, Canada, the 1940s. A time when no one questioned the work of nuns, no one ever imagined the dark secrets that lurked behind these walls. In the basement of St. Julien Orphanage, a children's dungeon, complete with torture chamber.
Et puis lorsqu'ils nous mettaient la camisole de force, they would put us in straitjackets. They would tie us onto beds with bars and metal springs for weeks at a time.
At St. John of God, a medical laboratory where normal children were declared mentally retarded, injected with experimental drugs, and jolted with electroshock therapy.
They would strap little girls with electrical cords right here, and then they would turn on the electricity. There was a noise, and the girls would lose consciousness.
And at Mont Providence, a kind of sexual playground where priests, nuns, and their assistants, known as monitors, molested young boys.
The head monitor raped me in the cell. The last time was in an elevator.
Charges against the church are now echoing throughout the provincial towns and villages of Quebec. Virtually every week, orphans who had kept silent for decades are coming forth unveiling their darkest secrets. Police are now investigating dozens of allegations against nuns, doctors, and lay workers. Charges that range from sexual abuse to murder.
It all began during the 16-year reign of Maurice Duplessis, Quebec's dictatorial premier. Duplessis was a devout Catholic, a good friend of the church and its bishops. He gave them millions of tax dollars to run the province's welfare system. Quebec's orphanages were turned over to an order of sisters known as the Grey Nuns because of their dark clothing. For each child under their care, the nuns received 75 cents a day from the government. But if those orphans happened to be mentally retarded, they got more than 3 times as much, $2.50 a day. The prospect of that extra money led to a brutal decision. With the stroke of a pen, thousands of healthy orphans were declared mentally retarded.
Kids would go to bed normal, or as orphans one night, and would wake up as abnormal the next morning just because they would be treated as mentally retarded.
Stan Van Dice is a doctor now investigating the medical histories of the orphans.
We're talking about basically unfortunate children who did not have a mother and a father and a family to take care of them. And what did they do that they would deserve that?
Aujourd'hui, on a l'intelligence de se défendre.
Today we want to defend ourselves. We want to cry out.
Primetime gathered 200 of the so-called orphans of Duplessis for a kind of reunion. All of these people were once declared mentally retarded. All say they were victims of abuse.
They would take popsicle sticks and ram them into my ears. It broke my eardrums.
What is that?
From rubbing on steel springs when they were tied up on the bed.
The years of neglect and sexual abuse have also left permanent emotional scars on some 15,000 orphans.
I was raped by a priest at one orphanage, by workers at another orphanage, and 3 more times at a third orphanage. After all that, I never wanted to have children. I thought I would kill the child, and then myself.
For both the women and the men, the stigma of mental retardation has led to joblessness, divorce, depression.
You were classified as debilité mentale?
Oh, yes.
Mentally retarded?
Oui, monsieur.
You were too. You were classified as mentally retarded?
Oh, yes.
And you?
Disability.
But were you really? I mean, you obviously...
No, I'm not really.
And none of you are.
It's not true.
Only as adults did they find out they were perfectly normal. Too late, they say, to recover a stolen childhood.
They broke my life.
Her name is Miriam Kelly, now 57. During the 18 years she spent in Catholic orphanages, Miriam says she was frequently bound in a straitjacket and then submerged into cold water baths repeatedly until she almost lost consciousness. She says she was also injected with hallucinogenic drugs and even forced to eat a mouse, all part of the Grey Nuns' discipline.
She had a little mouse there, and she said, "You're going to eat that." And she threw that on my mouth, and me, I vomit.
Miriam agreed to take us back to her old home, the St. Julian Orphanage, her first visit here in over 30 years.
What do you remember?
I remember when they beat me. That was my cell.
Her cell, in the corner there, her worst memory.
Very bad memories, that. I want to jump.
You wanted to jump down from there?
Yes, I want to kill myself, you know.
And then Miriam showed us this. Just across the street from the orphanage, a children's cemetery.
How many do you think were buried here?
I think the 200 orphans.
These are the tiny graves of hundreds of orphans who died during their stay at St. Julian, some of them under mysterious circumstances.
That's a little girl, 7 years old, and she died in 1951.
A child so anonymous, she was named after the institution.
You see her name, Thérèse Julien.
As she ventures inside St. Julian through an open back door, Miriam worries about the orphans who were left behind. Old friends, like 55-year-old Pauline. The last time the two women saw each other, they were young girls. It was 1959, when a long-lost sister finally gained Miriam's release. No one ever came by for Pauline.
Was Pauline mentally retarded 30 years ago?
No, she was not retarded. She was no more.
What happened?
She had too much the electroshock.
But as it turns out, Pauline may have been one of the luckier orphans. Miriam says she saw gray nuns viciously beating this unidentified 5-year-old girl the night before she died.
They beat that little girl, and she died in the morning.
This little girl here was killed by the nuns?
I think she killed the little girl.
We tried to talk to one of the nuns Miriam holds responsible for the atrocities. She's 72 years old now, living in this convent in Quebec City.
We're with American television.
She refused to meet with us in person, though we were able to talk to her by telephone.
My name is John Quinones. I'm an American journalist. Why do you think these people are making such serious charges?
Je ne sais pas, parce que moi je n'ai rien fait. J'ai essayé de faire que du bien.
There's no mystery, she said, to the death of that 5-year-old girl.
Was she beaten?
Non, non. Elle est morte de pneumonie.
The orphan's charges, she said, were highly exaggerated.
Beaucoup. Beaucoup exagéré. Il y a eu des choses après, des petites tapes, j'ai fait de même. On mettait des lettres, je n'ai pas d'excuses à faire.
It's been 30 years now, but many of the orphans still suffer from nightmares of the abuse. To this day, Elise Canton sleeps as if strapped in a straitjacket.
On est resté avec des séquelles.
We have after effects. We were left with trauma. No help from anybody. Our lives were destroyed.
The Catholic Church, which today remains extremely influential in Quebec, is stunned by the charges.
I can understand that.
Sister Giselle Fortier is a spokeswoman for 7 orders of Catholic nuns, including the Grey Nuns.
I know those sisters. And I know that they were very dedicated to their person.
But sister, these orphans were shocked with electricity, beaten with chains, tied to beds for weeks. How far did this discipline go?
It was a situation, it's an allegation that is upsetting myself.
You're not denying that there was some mistreatment of these children?
It may happen that the person sometimes has a bad attitude for them.
These children believed in priests and nuns, in God and the church. They trusted you, and you let them down. You don't feel you should give them an apology?
At this moment, we're not ready to recognize that we have done something bad in the past.
I'd love to see those damn pigs, to tell them all the pain they caused us, all the sorrow they caused in our lives, all that we lost because of them. We lost everything.
The stigma of retardation, unemployment, divorce, depression. It's little wonder that today many of the orphans have turned away from the church and the Catholic nuns once entrusted to protect them.
They knew what they were doing to us. They knew the harm they were causing us. They did it knowingly and joyfully. They hurt our bodies. They hurt our souls. They hurt our minds.
A $1.2 billion suit has been filed on behalf of thousands of orphans. They're asking not only for money, but for a public apology from the church. The Catholic Church is conducting its own investigation into the allegations, as are the Quebec Provincial Police. So far, no criminal charges have been filed.
No charges have been filed. But there's some common sense needs to be raised. Basically, just fess up what you did, apologize, and it will never happen again. But do not add that it won't happen again. We hear statements from schools that say, sorry. We hear statements from schools that say, we're sorry this happened to your child, we won't be doing it, this won't happen again, we want to make sure it doesn't happen again. But when you say something like that, you are bound to know that it's going to happen again. If something's not done. You gotta look at it from a perspective. What perspective are we gonna look at here? We gotta look at a perspective to where you apologize, all is forgiven, all can be done, yada yada, zip. Zippity doo dah, my oh my. What a wonderful day. probably won't be wonderful. Okay. Still to come, Judge Judith Shineland before she became Judge Judy. Stay with us. Now a question that everyone always asks. How much evidence do you need to lock somebody up? This is a story about 4 cops that beat up juveniles and was led by one person, which you're about to meet. And you're also going to hear from the victims themselves who got beaten up by these 4 deputies in Mississippi. You will hear all sides of the tale from the victims and from the police, and especially one tough cop in Mississippi who may provide clues about what had happened. And by going public, it may strike a chord, but will it? Or will it get an ass whooping? Here's Sylvia Chase.
The beatings went on how often?
All the time. All the time.
Andy, how many beatings do you think you've seen?
A dozen.
I would have to say at least 50 or better.
The whistleblowers, Boyce Grayson, Tony Lewis, Andrea Gibbs, and Will Williams, came forward to name this man, Lieutenant Homer McKnight, Jr., as the ringleader of a group of sadistic deputy sheriffs who brutally beat inmates, including juveniles, without provocation.
Comments were made that if you can't run with the big dogs, stay on the porch.
And by that they meant if you can't put up with beating prisoners,
Right.
get out?
They would even teach you how to beat a prisoner without leaving any scars.
Primetime has interviewed 15 inmates who say they were beaten.
He took me by the hair of my head and started slamming the back of my head onto a concrete floor.
The sergeant had beaten me in the top of the head with a billy club.
One guy was punching me in the face as the other guy was punching and kicking me in the side.
Remember, this is Mississippi, the civil rights battleground of the 60s, marked by the murder of civil rights activist Medgar Evers and the deaths of voter registration workers at the hands of the Ku Klux Klan. But this is southernmost Mississippi, the Gulf Coast, an area mostly untouched by that history. And these days in Harrison County, it's still not considered wise to take on the local sheriff.
Call me paranoid, but you could get run off the road. It's dangerous to take on the law.
But the whistleblowing deputies say it was necessary for them to take on the law because of what they called routine and savage beatings at the Old County Jail and the Youth Detention Center, where nearly 1,000 inmates were potential victims. They say they first saw the violence at the Youth Detention Center in October '88. How long was it before you witnessed your first beating?
About 3 hours into my first shift.
Gibbs and Lewis say Lieutenant Homer McKnight, Jr., who had just been put in charge of the youth jail, led several deputies in beating and gagging a 16-year-old girl. Ben say the ex-deputies, Lieutenant McKnight gave them a warning. Keep your mouth shut and go along.
They called us into an office and said, look, we're not allowed to gag inmates. We're not allowed to do that, so you didn't see any of this.
It was like if you valued your job, you didn't see it either. And like we valued our job, we just had to hush for a while.
They were in a bind, tormented by what they were seeing, afraid to say anything.
What do I say? Who do I go to? You know, my supervisor was the one that's doing most of the beating.
Altogether, former deputies Gibbs and Lewis say they saw Lieutenant Homer McKnight, Jr. beat 11 inmates, mostly juveniles.
It was choking me, and I couldn't breathe.
At the time, Matthew McDuffie was 14, arrested for theft.
Homer was slapping him upside the head. At one point, he grabbed Matthew around the throat and lifted him off the floor and slammed him into a Coke machine.
Travis Lewis was also 14 years old, in jail for robbery.
Homer McKnight, Jr. grabbed Travis by the throat, slammed him down on the floor.
He started kicking me in my back and my rib with his boot as I was laying on the floor.
Travis Lewis's father, Gordon,
visited his son the next day.
The handprint was still on his throat.
There were fingerprints on his throat?
I asked him, I said, what is that mark? He said, that's where he grabbed me and choked me down.
The former deputies say Lieutenant McKnight took perverse pleasure in the beatings.
He thrived on it. You know, he would beat on a kid and then sit around and talk about it for 2 hours. Oh, that little one made me mad, so I did this and that and the other. Ha, ha, ha. I was scared to death of him. I still am.
Harrison County Sheriff Joe Price says the whistleblowers are malcontents, and any blows delivered by Lieutenant McKnight were justified.
I've never said that Homer did not strike the child, but was that child fighting him? I think that's the issue. Did the child strike him?
I've talked to 15 who say that there were unprovoked beatings committed on them. Are they all making it up?
These are lawbreakers. These are lawbreakers. Why won't they tell you a lie?
Sheriff Price also denies that he was warned about Lieutenant McKnight's violence. But Tony Lewis recalls speaking to Price on February 6, 1989.
Said, man, y'all don't know what's going on at the detention center. Homer is beating those kids. I said, they are abusing these kids over here. Joe Price told me to my face, Lewis, you got an attitude problem.
Feeling that no one within the department cared, by mid-1989, the deputies were finding it harder and harder to keep quiet.
As long as I stood there and said nothing, I may as well have been down the hall beating on them and abusing them just the same as everybody else. I was no better than they were.
So the deputies called a news conference to tell what they'd seen. The next morning, they were fired. But at least it was out in the open now. There'd be investigations. The deputies were optimistic.
I thought that we were formidable. One of us, they could beat us down. 2 of us, yeah. But 4 of us? How could they discredit all 4 of us and ignore all 4 of us?
Here's how. There were 4 investigations by the sheriff, a county grand jury, the state attorney general, and the FBI. But it's charged they all amounted to a whitewash. Remember Matthew McDuffie?
It was choking me. I couldn't breathe.
Former Deputy Andrea Gibbs says that she witnessed Matthew's beating, but the sheriff's investigator ignored Gibbs and cleared Lieutenant McKnight. Then there was an investigation by the Mississippi State Attorney General.
I believe that the children had been hit. I talked to several who said they had been hit.
Assistant Attorney General Pat Flynn was in charge, and following an inquiry that took just 2 days, Flynn assured the community the children were in no peril. Why?
As far as beating, I think there is a difference between hitting and beating.
What is the difference between hitting and beating?
I don't think any of the children had any injuries.
Now it was the county grand jury's turn to investigate. The grand jury heard from 2 of the whistleblowing deputies and from 13 inmates and ex-inmates who swore they'd been beaten. Several of them named Lieutenant Homer McKnight, Jr.
Homer McKnight came and told his story, and the grand jury believed it.
Joe Meadows, then county district attorney, presented the evidence to the grand jury.
The grand jury chose not to indict Homer McKnight Jr. because there was not sufficient evidence to get a conviction. That is the long and the short of it.
Forrest Bennett was grand jury foreman.
Do you recall how many witnesses said that they had been beaten by Homer McKnight?
No, I don't, but there were a great many of them. Sure were.
But you didn't find any of them believable?
No, we didn't.
You didn't believe them because they had records, or
that part of it, yes.
So despite all those who said Lieutenant McKnight was a beater, he walked free. But the grand jury did indict someone, Boyce Grayson, one of the whistleblowing deputies, on 1 beating charge. Grayson was later convicted and is appealing.
Boyce Grayson was a railroad.
Mark Marquardt, formerly head of the Mississippi ACLU.
I couldn't believe their arrogance, and I was just so stunned because it's like, not only are we not going to respond as a grand jury to any of the evidence we've been given, we are going to play along with the powers that be and indict one of the people that came forward.
And grand jury foreman Bennett has had a change of heart. After thinking it over for 2.5 years and listening to the results of Primetime's investigation, he wished the grand jury could meet again.
If I had to do it all over again, I would, if I was a betting man, I would almost bet you that I'd indict Homer McKnight, yes. I don't like to admit that, say, but no one likes to make a mistake.
There was also an investigation by the FBI, historically aggressive in its prosecution of civil rights cases in the South. But in this case, it's charged that the FBI failed to interview eyewitnesses to 3 alleged beatings. For example, the case of Mark Parker, investigated by FBI agent George Holder.
That first lick was a slap, and then he continued to hit me after that.
Mark Parker, who was arrested on a drug charge, says he was beaten in the Harrison County Jail by a deputy named Bill Collins.
Sergeant Collins slapped Mark around a couple of times. He choked him, and I witnessed the whole thing.
Did FBI agent Holder contact you?
No, he didn't.
He didn't?
Never talked to the guy. I don't even know the guy.
In June 1989, Parker's family got a letter from the Justice Department saying their investigation found no criminal violations of federal law and the case would be closed. Tony Lewis draws only one conclusion about Agent Holder's failure to contact him.
He didn't want to talk to me because it was a cover-up.
The FBI declined to be interviewed on camera. In a letter, the agency denies any cover-up, saying it did a thorough investigation, including interviews with the whistleblowing deputies. But the FBI acknowledges those interviews occurred 4 months after the Justice Department closed the Parker case.
So you have the Attorney General's office looking into it, you have the FBI looking into it, and you have a grand jury.
Right.
Nothing happened.
Right. 3 strikes and you're out.
These days, Sheriff Price shows off his new state-of-the-art county jail. And Warden Rick Gaston, a Harrison County native and ex-Marine who runs the jails for Sheriff Price, doles out advice to inmates.
There's rules everywhere. There's rules for you, there's rules for me, there's rules for the sheriff, there's rules for everybody. And the sooner you learn to go by them, the better off you are.
But there are charges that Gaston has his own set of rules.
Rick Gaston hit me with the blackjack.
Leroy Coleman is one of 2 inmates we talked to who said Gaston beat them. Coleman, jailed on a burglary charge, says that in January 1991, Gaston and others, including Homer McKnight Jr., escalated an argument into a beating.
They got me down on the floor and they went kicking me and stomping me, kicking me all in the side.
Coleman has filed a civil rights lawsuit against Gaston over the alleged beating. Gaston states that Coleman refused to come out of his cell during a search, and several officers wrestled him to the floor, cuffed him, and carried him out.
I never touched Leroy Coleman. And if Leroy Coleman says that I struck him with a baton, a police baton, or any other object, he's lying.
We arranged a lie detector test. Coleman failed on questions about charges he was kept in jail to get him to drop his lawsuit. But on the question of being beaten, Coleman passed, according to the examiner, with flying colors.
Are you lying when saying that Artie, Warden Gaston, and other officers didn't take you while in your cell and in the day room? No.
I want you to know that Leroy Coleman passed a lie detector test as to the truthfulness of the alleged beating incident.
He passed it, fine, he passed it.
Would you take the lie detector test, Captain?
No, ma'am, I will not.
Why?
Because I'm not required to. I don't have to. If he wishes to sue me, we will settle this matter in court.
And what about Lieutenant Homer McKnight Jr.? He was transferred out of the Youth Detention Center, but is still responsible for guarding prisoners. We tried to talk to him about all of this.
Yeah, the children tell us that, tell Primetime Live that you are the ringleader of a gang that was beating them at the Youth Detention Center. What do you have to say about that? You have no comment? Why would you talk to us?
I don't know if there's...
Did you beat the children, Lieutenant McKnight? Lieutenant, why won't you talk to us?
Because he doesn't have to. We're going to raise some common sense when we return, and Judge Judy is up next. Don't go away. Common sense alert. A gang of cops beating up juveniles. I mean, what is this? We're going back to the 1992 riots? I mean, you watch on TV, yeah, that's what we do to these people. Yeah, that's what we do to these people. And you do the same thing with these other people? Hey, get back in jail. Get back in jail right now. You're beating up juveniles. Those are minors. And that person took a lie detector test, passed him in 5 cars, saying that the cop beat him up. The sheriff's like, nope, I'm not going to take a lie detector test. He damn well should. He was the one that beat him. He's like, oh, you want to sell this in court, huh? Let's go sell this in court. We'll do a boxing match right here. Come on now. This ain't no boxing match. You beat him. You cops out there, you beat him. You beat him. No. Don't you dare tune out right now. You cops out there from years ago, you beat them. You beat him. How dare you? You beat him. How do you do it? You all are in a gang to where you would beat up juveniles and even adults. And you, yeah, you, Homer McKnight, you're watching this. I hope you're watching this too. You. Firing the whistleblowers. Those 4 whistleblowers, they told the truth. If they took a lie to your test in front of your face, you'd be in shock going like, I don't believe it. And I would have you take a lie to your test whether you're honest or not. Depends on your job. And if you take the lie to your test, then you'd be suspended with pay. Suspended without pay. No ifs, ands, buts, or excuses. You want to go back to your job? You take that lie to your test during your suspension, and if it passes, you get to continue on with your job. If you're passing honest, then depends on your job. You fail, you lie, you're out of here. But why would the FBI not investigate? Basically because of all the evidence being put in. Now, if the evidence wasn't popped in, I mean, these days you need proof. But if there was evidence like bloody noses and broken bones, x-rays that would show all this, then maybe it convinced the grand jury like, oh, these people beat them. Or maybe Homer McKnight bribed the jury and said, here, I'm going to give you $100 each. I want you to be on my side here. Here's $100. Here's $100. Here's $100. Here's $100. Here's $100. Here's $300. I want you to be on my side here. And then you would catch them on camera, bribing the jury, you go, click, 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 click. And then you would stop everything. Hold up. Before I do sentencing here, I must confess something. I have a picture of when Homer McKnight bribed the jury before the trial, before we all got started. Evidence would pop up, and the judge would be all like, Homer McKnight, you're sentenced. You're fired. You're not working no more in the detention center. Like, why would you do that? So basically, you just gotta be honest here, and according to what happened here, we wouldn't even know about Homer McKnight's side of the tale. But if we had to go all together with the grand jury, then it'd be a different story. So as I tell you, boys and girls, don't beat up inmates. This is not Rodney King, and this is not the LA riots, where cops beat people. Their job is like, if they break the law, you arrest them. That's what police do. You break the law, you're under arrest. It's just how it is. Even cops beating up juveniles. Come on, these are juveniles. Juvenile has the word juvie in it for a juvenile detention center. And even then, you know that you can't be doing that crap. It's going to cost you your job, and then you're going to be sitting there pouting and sobbing and crying. So you realize and say, you know what? I need to fess up what I've done. And we don't know about Homer McKnight. And if we did, we would never know. Alright. When we come back, Judith Sheindlin before Judge Judy on the child welfare system. Stay with us. Would you like to get a fix on what's going on with the American family in the American city? Then spend some time in New York's family court, and you can be a witness to the ways in which law and its order works, or doesn't it. If you stay long enough, you will see it all. The battered child, the crap mother, the 10-year-old mother the burnout social worker and the nitpicking lawyer, and the lawyer that called the judge you're about to meet that rhymes with witch. You'll find presiding this woman. Her name is Judge Judy. Her real name is actually Judge Judith Scheinlin. This was her before Judge Judy. Now, if you would find her a little shrill, a little bit testy, she would be very pleased. Here's Molly Safer.
Unless he's in a hospital, he's to be in school. Clear, sir? This is not a legal game, counselor. This witness may not have a terrific memory, but I've got a very good memory, sir. You have a lot more questions? Good. Well, what do you want me to give him, a testimonial dinner? Thank you very much. Step out.
She is a 5'2" package of attitude with a capital A. And pity the young lawyer who dares to question the judge's judgment.
Well, are you suggesting, Miss Gutierrez, that if I placed him on probation, he would never go visit his mother?
No,
are you
Judge.
suggesting that?
No,
so
Judge.
let's be real.
To those who confront her, she is the evil queen in a lace collar.
If that's too hard for you, sir, I guarantee you I will put you someplace where you're going to be in bed at 9 o'clock and at school every day. That's where the rest of your friends are.
And she deals with legal procedures with a scalpel.
So your objection's noted. It's overruled. Have a seat. No, listen to me. This is not a tea party. You make an objection, I rule.
The players in this theater of misery are the judge, lawyers, caseworkers, addicted parents, and castaway children.
You make a fool of me again, sir, by not doing what you're supposed to do, and I guarantee you it'll be a very sorry day. We understand each other? The respondent is paroled to his father in conjunction with the donor.
Unlike criminal court, there is no jury. Those present are supposed to work out a solution that is supposed to be in the best interest of the child. It is never easy.
This baby was born drug addicted, and if you keep using drugs, the other baby is going to be born drug addicted. And I'm telling you right now, you're not going to take this baby home from the hospital because the commissioner's not going to let you.
And when she feels the best interest of the child is to scare the living daylights out of him, she does not shy away.
Now for you, Joey, I want you to stand up, because I have a few things to say to you. I am dismissing this case, sir, because the law says that I must. That doesn't mean you're innocent, sir. That doesn't mean that you weren't involved in both of these robberies that night. That just means that they weren't able to prove it. We understand each other, sir?
Yes.
That little boy, 13-year-old boy, was sitting right here. And you were trying to scare the hell out of him.
Correct.
You think you did?
I don't know, but I tried.
No, do you think you really scared him? You think...
I scared him not only by what I said to him verbally, but by the fact that when he was originally in the court, he was arraigned before another judge, and he was told to go to a particular program, an all-day school, and he didn't go. I said to him, we're not playing games here with you. This is the rule. You were told you were going to be paroled if you went to the alternatives to detention school. If you didn't go to the school, you go to detention. I mean, if we're going to make orders, we have to be prepared to enforce them. Otherwise, everybody laughs at us and thinks that we're full of baloney. Right?
And baloney is what she hates. But lectures she likes a lot, likes to give them. And when a caseworker seems to be dragging his feet, there is the threat of nuclear response.
Sir, you don't want me to have palpitations, do you? What? I'm very bad when I get palpitations. You have to see to it that this visitation takes place. It's very important that this child gets to see his mother and his grandmother. And the longer he spends not seeing his family, the more difficult it's going to be. Is that a fair statement, sir? Well, then let's just do it. The goal is to get them to do the right thing. Nobody who comes into my courtroom who's done the right thing is afraid. They're afraid if they come in and they do the routine thing, which is just giving me a lot of rhetoric and gobbledygook, either one of two things are going to happen. Either they're going to say, I want off this case, I'm never going back there before that monster again. Or they'll say, the next time I come in, I better have done my job better.
Do they ever mouth off at you?
Rarely.
Indeed. Robert Little, the Commissioner of the Child Welfare Administration, had some choice words about the judge, up until the cameras started turning. Then this.
She's always been very cordial, and, you know, we get along well as far as I know.
You get along well personally, but I don't think your agency gets along well with the judge.
Well, she talks to me a great deal about things that need improvement, as do a number of judges, and we attempt to make the necessary adjustments.
Why must the caseworker have 3 supervisors?
We have an initial supervisor 1 that is essentially a backup to the unit supervisor. The unit supervisor has a manager, a case protective manager, who supervises a number of units.
And very often, these 2 supervisors and this caseworker has another supervisor.
It's 4 so far.
Right. They are represented by a child welfare attorney who practices here in the court.
5.
Now, they get this one child. Usually it's more than one in a family, but let's say they get this one child. And the city decides we are going to subcontract the care of that child to a private care agency. Another business. There are many of them. But it's a private agency. That private agency has a caseworker, a supervisor. That supervisor has a supervisor. And minimally, that agency also has a lawyer that we all pay for. Now, we are paying for 9 people
For 1 child.
for that child.
More than half the payments for family foster care in New York City go to kinship foster care, a program that enlists relatives, usually grandmothers, to look after abused or neglected children. While many people say it's an excellent way to keep families together, others, like Judge Scheinman, say it's a way to rip off the city for big money. And she has a favorite example.
Well, that was a foster mother who was a grandmother who had 6 children, 6 grandchildren with her, and the children were ultimately removed from her because they found the children living in abysmal conditions. This lady had been receiving $3,000 a month from the city
the grandmother.
The city to take care of the grandchildren. And when I asked her, what were you doing with the money? Her response to me was, I bought a house in Puerto Rico.
The judge says the system of paying a grandmother to be a foster parent, in theory, removing a child from a destructive mother, is an invitation for the whole family to cheat.
That money is tax-free. Nobody monitors what's done with that money. Nobody monitors how it's spent. I've had cases where both parents work for the Child Welfare Administration and their children are in kinship foster care. It was used like a babysitting service.
The judge's repetition of these horror stories has opened her up to accusations that she's insensitive to the needs of the people she serves, not least to the problems of caseworkers. The city would not allow its caseworkers to talk to us, so we asked Commissioner Little.
Part of Judge Scheinman's problem with this agency is caseworker comes in, often with as many as 3 or 4, an entourage of 3 or 4 people, of supervisors and a lawyer, and nobody in that entourage is familiar with the case.
Well, I've always been open to the judge's constructive improvement suggestions, and will continue to be so.
But when they do come in like that, she beats up on them.
I don't have any personal observations of that type of thing, but I do get a number of reports that suggest that they're not held in high esteem.
New York City lawyers might feel the same after a session in Judge Scheinman's courtroom.
Mr. Wilger, because I run my courtroom, right?
I know you run your courtroom.
That's correct, sir. The tail doesn't wag the dog. So all I'm asking you is, do you want me to order new reports or whether we will use the old reports?
Well, I just want to state my position on it.
That's denied.
My
That's
position
denied.
is that I believe
That is, Mr. Wilger,
when
Mr.
many
Wilger,
things were going into with my client.
you want new reports? You want new reports, sir?
I believe that those are on the report.
God
These
almighty.
reports, and I just
Just tell me what you want. Old reports or new reports. And I'll give you whatever you want.
Well, I believe that new reports should be ordered. I believe that
Order
reports should
new
be
reports.
ordered.
Order.
I believe that there are many
New.
statements that were
Good.
To Scheinman, justice must not only be done and seen to be done, it must be seen to be done fast.
Could you please move on, Miss Allen? I have about 20 other cases to do today, Counselor.
Objections? Forget it.
Your Honor, I would object. I believe this is beyond the scope of direct, and I would
Just a
ask that
second.
Ms. Allen adopt this witness as her own if she's going to ask these types of questions.
Okay, let me tell you this, so that you don't make that objection again. Since you have an objection on the two grounds that I made, sit down and don't interrupt this proceeding again. Sit down.
I was stating that
Down, you have a standing objection. And if you want to state any other bases for your objection, I will direct that the reporter be here at 5 o'clock, because I have 30 other cases to do, and you can come in and put any ground that you want on the record.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good.
Miss Levy had only one more thing to say. Just read her lips. If you missed it, it rhymes with witch.
I worry that occasionally, because I'm outspoken, that somebody's going to say, well, this lady's not going to be reappointed. We're not going to give her another opportunity to beat our brains out. You know, we'll find somebody else who won't beat our brains out. I mean, come on, we understand what's happening here. This hand doesn't know what this hand is doing. And now we want...
Judge,
now,
all we're saying,
all I
Judge.
want you to say, Mr. Hill, is that I'll take care of it this week. You can put families back together again. You can find the right place for a kid who's in trouble. You can make a difference in the life of a family. And if you see a situation like that, and if you're not willing to commit yourself to breaking a sweat, then you don't belong in this business. Go to work in surrogates court. Everybody's dead over there.
So much for her judicial colleagues. For 20 years, Judge Scheinman has worked family court, first in the Bronx, now in Manhattan. She's the fastest judge in the system, nearly 300 cases a month, a judicial treadmill. She uses a real one in the gym where the machinery never talks back.
Did you terrorize your own kids the way you terrorize other people's kids in court?
They ignore me. They knew at a very early age how to impose young Jewish guilt on their working mother. So although I tried to be intimidating, I don't think I was very successful.
She's had 2 husbands and raised 5 children, 3 of them following her into the law. Adam, a prosecutor on Long Island, said his mother maintained a unique code of justice at home.
The Court of Appeals, there's even the appellate division. But there is no appeals here. That's it.
Judy's law.
It's Judy's law. That's exactly what it is.
And festive family dinners are done in the traditional Manhattan way. They're ordered in.
You want to know the recipe? 212, dial. Food.
There are legions of caseworkers and lawyers who are going to shock at these scenes. The evil queen in the role of fairy grandmother.
Given what you have to deal with every day, the degradation, the abuse, the pain, the suffering, God knows, what does it do to the judge?
What keeps me going are those few cases, maybe 10 a year. Maybe 10 a year. And I do maybe 1,000 cases a year. Maybe 10 of them I can make a real positive difference. That keeps you going. I try to get the best out of people who come before me. I try to give them my best, try to make the best possible solution very often out of a very terrible situation. I know it's just a Band-Aid, but it's the best Band-Aid I can put on it.
You think 10 years from now it's going to be better or worse here?
Worse. A lot worse.
And it wasn't worse. After the story aired, Judge Judy was born. 1996 through, I don't know when it ended, but Judge Judy was born. The people are real, the cases are real, and the rulings are final. It's Judge Judy. We'll be right back. When you were a kid, did you ever wonder why your parents would whoop you? Take a look at this.
Hey, Mom. Oh. Yes, baby, what you need? I got a question. Why do you always whoop me? Because that's how much I love you. Well, let me show you how much I love you. Because I really love you, Mom. What do you think you're doing? I am your mother. You stop this mess right now. You better listen to me. Hey, Mom. Oh.
Finish her! Ow. Alright, now we got our power break out of the way. It's time for... Now it's time for some body cam break. We've seen drunk driving videos. We've seen people who got arrested for drunk driving. You're about to see what happens 4 months ago when an 18-year-old attempts to fight a police officer during a DUI arrest. DUI means driving under the influence, while DWI means driving while intoxicated. This was a recent incident from 4 months ago. It was captured on body cam footage. Take a look.
And was head on with cars that were parked on Scenic going south, and there was a police officer on the...
Yeah, that was me.
That was you?
Uh-huh.
Well, she was like twirling her hair, and it's just like moving like
Like not a care in the world, you know?
How's it going today?
just trying to
Yeah? What kind of errands you running?
grocery shopping, filling bills, just adult things.
Yeah. So where were you coming from?
If we're being honest, I am on the way to pick up on my friend, and because I don't like doing things by myself because I have anxiety, so I like people coming on rides with me. So I was gonna go pick her up so I can go to the dispensary, get what I need, and then bring it back home. If you want to, I can show you my medical card.
Do you have a prescription for Xanax bars? No? Have you taken any? Alright. Hang tight. You can get some gloves. Because I believe they're sitting right there in the driver's seat.
For me, it pretty much stays simple.
Ma'am, is your ID in your purse?
Yes, it is.
Alright, I'll get it. I'll get it. Hey, I said I'll get it. Stand over there at the end of your car. Do you hear me?
Okay, but if you were more respectful about it, I'm just saying,
Alright,
if we're all humans here, if you were more respectful about it, I'm just saying.
Where's your ID at? Is it in here?
Can I look for my wallet? Well, why
I got it.
for my wallet? No, the thing is that's my property. You had no choice.
Actually, I do, because I found friggin' Xanax bars on your driver's seat. If you want to explain something, explain those.
Girl, the fact that you're just looking for my stuff.
They were in plain view.
Yep.
That makes a difference.
Oh, were they in plain view?
Yeah, your butt was covered.
Okay.
Here, will you do me a favor and go sit on the bumper of that car over there?
Why? Okay, I just want to know what I was doing in particular.
Okay, the reason you were pulled over, you were called in as a possible drunk driver, and from the people that were calling in said that you hit multiple things. I haven't been to the other side of your car or really inspected your car yet to verify that, but you were found here. She's getting out with you. You were called in as a drunk driver. Okay. Upon contact, she's finding things that are illegal in your car. So this is kind of the development that we're going. Okay. So for right now, while she's doing her job, we're going to give her some space and we're going to go sit at the front of that car. Okay. Okay. That's fine. You can. I mean, the fenders can be hot. I mean, if you want to sit on this bumper, that's probably not going to be as hot, but the fenders get hot. Ma'am, over here, please. I've asked you. You're right. It is your car. Did she say yes or no? Sorry, she started talking. Okay. Hey, I've asked you nicely. You asked me to be respectful, didn't you? Have I not been respectful with you? And you're not doing what I asked you. Okay, would you like to sit down on the grass over there?
I can sit down in my car.
No, you
What
cannot.
if I just have hands up, everything?
No, you're not getting back in your car. You can sit on the grass over there, or we can sit in the back of this car here, whichever one you prefer. Okay?
The only thing I'm seeing is there's some scratchy stuff right there.
I'm gonna get my phone.
No, you're not. You're staying right here.
Okay, but why can't I get my phone to, like, at least have
You're
my
not getting
own
back in that
thing?
car until they're done.
Okay, but I feel like I should be able to. It's my right to, like, record anything that's happening in
Everything's
my
being
life.
recorded right
I
here.
know, but why can't I record it for myself?
You're not going back in that car.
But why can't I record?
You can request this recording.
You can come with me to my car. My phone
Hey.
is right on that seat. One of y'all can come to me to that seat to get my car. To let me videotape, because that is my human right. That is the bare minimum y'all can do. So I can go to my phone is right there. Look behind you.
So, you have any idea why we're here?
Apparently what man's saying was I was drunk driving.
Okay, I take it you wasn't drunk driving.
No, I'm not drunk driving.
Out of curiosity, has your car always been like that in the front?
Yes, I have. Yeah, honestly, okay. What happened first? Okay, see this part of my car?
I do.
One day I came back from work, was getting off and shit.
Mm-hmm.
That was missing. The cooler hat was missing. It was missing. This side of my car, we have a Chevrolet truck that's in its vintage, it's my grandpa's, old school Chevrolet truck. So it's it's big as. And my grandpa got a Jeep Cherokee that's also just built in the 1990s, and then they got a Sidekick Suzuki or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, do I need to get that fixed?
No, I'm just curious. I'm talking to you briefly here. When I got here, I saw your demeanor, your actions, and all that stuff, okay? Now, when I talk to you even more, and I'm looking at some indicators right now, okay? I'm looking at your pupils, I'm looking at your eyes, and I think that you might be under the influence of some type of narcotic. Not alcohol, but I believe a narcotic. Okay? So based off of what I'm seeing so far, would you be willing to do a field sobriety test to dispel my suspicions that you're under the influence of any type of narcotic? You willing to do that? Okay, do you have any injuries that you know about, head injuries? Have you had any previous concussions?
Not that I medically seek attention for, yes. I mean, medical-wise, might have had a concussion, never went to the hospital.
Have you ever had a concussion within the past, let's say, 10, 24 hours?
10, 24 hours? No.
Spread your legs for me. Face the car. Spread your legs. Spread your legs.
I'm looking for wrestling.
Spread your legs.
Ooh, damn, girl. You're taking it up.
Yeah, she's drunk.
Face down. That's it. Face down. She's straight. She's good. It's all on camera.
I mean, you guys are gonna steal my lavender?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to try that?
Oh, you want to choke me out? Oh! Oh, you want to choke me out, girl? Do you want to choke me out, girl? Holy! Oh, you really want to choke me out, girl? Bitch, I was not doing nothing to you. You want to choke me?
Yeah.
I thought they said they had it.
Huh?
My grandparents' phone number because last time one of you guys took me to the mental hospital, my grandparents could not find me for weeks! Okay, and you officers were like, oh, you're gonna be okay, you're gonna say this is wrong, but all you guys do is lie.
That's gonna be a fun ride out there. 2 days.
Yeah. Man, I can still hear it. I can still hear it. Jeez.
God, why do you know how far could you just see a meter? Quota. Ha ha ha. Blue lives is an American. Blue lives is a doctrine. It is not a matter. It is not a privilege. You choose to be a God. What are you gonna do to my car? What are you gonna do to my car? What are you gonna do to my car? You know what? Everything is gonna be fine. I'm gonna get bailed out. And girl, I'm gonna have a good 2 weeks. Dip out this place, bro. I can't wait. So genuinely, thank you. Thank you for letting me finally be free and giving me such BS of capitalism to the point where I'm just like, wow. Nothing really gives a f. Cops don't give nobody but to meet their quotas, and they pick and choose when they want to be nice. But like at the end of the day, whole ass. Oh, you're gonna tie me down, sir? All y'all wanted me is your quota! Ha ha ha, Blue Lives Matter, bitch! It's a choice to be a cop, it's not a life!
Oh God. Oh God. Alright. On our next viral break, we're not gonna have time, but here are sneak peeks of a few body cam breaks we're gonna show you. A drunk woman goes absolutely nuts after trying to flood her jail cell. That's number one. And the other one was when that one's come up on Monday. Then on Wednesday, a drunk nursing student disrespects officer. Actually, we're gonna have time for this one. Because this one really gonna take the cake here. Actually, we're gonna have that for you on Wednesday. And then, so, here's what's gonna happen here. Monday, a girl flirts with an officer after she's arrested for a DUI incident. That's on Monday. Then on Wednesday, this drunken nurse student was disrespecting a police officer before being arrested for a DUI. And probably another one on Friday. So yeah. If it's body cam, then it's a give me a break worth looking at. But here's the bottom line here. I get it. You are to respect the cops and you are to respect the police, period. There ain't no if, and, but, or excuse about it. You are being recorded. Being very disrespectful. You're under influence. You need to stop being that. You need to be sober enough to sit there and say, hey, I shouldn't be under the influence. You're on drugs. That's the bottom line. That's Give Me a Break for this Saturday going to Sunday. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Monday. And come up on Monday, More on the Sammy the Bull Gravano interview. Part 2. Part 3. More of that Diane Sawyer exclusive. For all of us here at YouTube, man, give me a break. Stop bullying. Speak up. Concentration, not strength. No jaywalking. No DUI. No DWI. No driving. No. Just have a good night.